In the world of basketball wives, drama isn't just expected, it's a guarantee. But this time, things have taken a turn no one saw coming. Rumors are swirling, tongues are wagging, and fans are absolutely floored by what's allegedly gone down between Brandi Maxiel and Evelyn Lozada. Could it be true? Is Evelyn really manipulating those around her? And has Brandi finally had enough? It all exploded during a fiery off-camera moment that's now shaking up the group dynamics like never before. According to whispers from insiders and reactions captured in recent sit-downs, Brandi may have pulled back the curtain on what she believes is a disturbing pattern in Evelyn's behavior, a pattern of control, exclusion, and subtle jabs masked as concern. And it's not just Brandi raising eyebrows. Jackie and Jennifer, two women known for staying composed under pressure, are now allegedly rethinking everything. The question on everyone's lips: has Evelyn finally been exposed, or is Brandi just stirring the pot? As the wildfire charity event looms and unresolved tension builds, the air around the cast is thick with suspicion, side eyes, and silent alliances. Buckle up, because what's bubbling beneath the surface might just erupt in ways no one's prepared for. The tension had been building for weeks, but no one expected it to erupt the way it did. Behind closed doors, whispers about Evelyn Lozada's behavior were getting louder, and it wasn't just the usual gossip. Something felt different. This time, something felt real. Brandi Maxiel, never one to hold back, had reportedly reached her breaking point after a string of behind-the-scenes moments left her questioning everything she thought she knew about her so-called friend. According to sources close to the group, things started unraveling after a private conversation between Brandi and a crew member who had allegedly witnessed Evelyn pulling strings during filming. The insider claimed Evelyn had been subtly steering conversations, planting seeds, and controlling narratives, all while keeping her hands clean. Brandi didn't want to believe it at first, but as she began to connect the dots, the pattern became undeniable. Every fallout, every confrontation, every dramatic sit-down of Evelyn always seemed to come out looking composed, while others were left in chaos. It was during a brunch meeting, meant to be lighthearted and peaceful, that Brandi let her guard down, just enough to voice her doubts. She didn't name names, but her words cut deep. She said she felt like someone in the group was using emotional manipulation to maintain power, always flipping the story to make themselves the victim. Jackie, Christy, sipping her mimosa, raised an eyebrow. Jennifer Williams, seated across from them, kept her expression unreadable, but her silence spoke volumes. What Brandi didn't know was that Jackie and Jennifer had already been feeling a shift. Evelyn's invitation to the wildfire charity event had come off cold and transactional, almost like a move to save face more than a genuine gesture. Jackie, who has always trusted her instincts, had been questioning Evelyn's sincerity since the trip to Palm Springs. Jennifer, still trying to heal from past wounds with Evelyn, had been keeping her distance. So when Brandi finally said it out loud, when she finally hinted that Evelyn might be playing a deeper game, they didn't shut her down. They listened. After brunch, the energy shifted. The women left in separate cars, each carrying the weight of unspoken truths. Brandi, pacing in her hotel room later that night, replayed everything. The missed calls, the weird timing of certain confessions, the way Evelyn would tear up just in time for the cameras, only to laugh it off moments later when no one was watching. Brandi had been holding on to receipts, texts, voice notes, even screenshots that painted a very different picture of the supportive friend Evelyn claimed to be. Behind the scenes, production was buzzing. Word had gotten out that Brandi might be planning to confront Evelyn during the charity event, not in a dramatic screaming match, but with cold, hard facts. And that kind of tension, it was television gold. The crew subtly rearranged call sheets, trying to place the women in scenes where they'd be forced to engage. It wasn't manipulation, it was strategy. They knew something explosive was on the horizon. Meanwhile, Evelyn seemed unbothered, at least on the surface. Her social media was filled with affirmations, glamorous selfies, and cryptic quotes about loyalty and truth. But sources say she was fully aware of the shifting tides. She'd been hearing things to little comments from crew members, sudden changes in energy during group scenes. And though she played it cool, behind closed doors she was allegedly calling in reinforcements, trying to figure out exactly what Brandi knew, and how much she was willing to say. The night before the charity event, tensions hit a peak. Brandi had dinner with Jennifer, just the two of them. No cameras, no producers. It was supposed to be casual, but within minutes, the mood turned serious. Brandi opened up about the pressure she was feeling, not just from the group, but from viewers. and social media trolls who constantly accused her of being negative or starting drama. Jennifer, who'd been on the receiving end of public backlash more than once, understood. She reminded Brandi that truth has a way of surfacing, even when people try to bury it. They talked about Evelyn, carefully, without malice. Both women admitted they felt played, not just by her, but by the narrative that always seemed to favor her. It wasn't just the emotional shifts or the selective friendships, it was the subtle way Evelyn isolated people. Build them up, then break them down, connect with them deeply, then withdraw. Brandi compared it to a chess game, where everyone else was a pawn, and Evelyn was always 10 steps ahead. What neither of them knew was that Jackie had been having similar thoughts. She'd been journaling everything, every conversation, every vibe shift, every moment that didn't sit right, and that night, alone in her room, she reread her notes and realized something that made her stomach drop. Every falling out in the group over the past 2 seasons had a common thread. Evelyn, she wasn't always at the center, but she was always close enough to feel the heat without getting burned. The next morning arrived fast. The charity event was being held at a local community center affected by the recent fires. It was meant to be a day of giving, of unity, but beneath the surface, it was anything but. Brandi arrived early, her mood unreadable. She wore a fitted black blazer and carried a large tote filled with donation items. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the room as if preparing for battle. Jennifer came next, all white ensemble, flawless makeup, her energy polished but distant. She greeted Brandi with a nod, no hugs. They were aligned, but cautious. Jackie showed up last, late as usual, but with her signature swagger. She walked in like she owned the place, but paused when she saw the other two already waiting. For a moment, no one said a word. Then Evelyn walked in. She was glowing, as always, hair laid, heels clicking, her smile picture perfect. But the second she made eye contact with Brandi, something shifted. The room didn't fall silent, but it felt colder, like the air itself was watching. Evelyn walked up to the group and greeted everyone with polite kisses and practiced charm. Brandi returned the gesture, but her body language told a different story. She stood slightly angled away, her hands tucked under her arms. Jennifer offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Jackie just said, "Well, look who finally showed up." Evelyn laughed it off, but the tension was impossible to ignore. And then, as if on cue, one of the producers signaled for them to take a seat, for a casual group conversation to be filmed near the donation station. The setup was innocent. The reality was far from it. Within minutes, the conversation turned from fire relief to personal flare-ups. Jackie, sipping on iced tea, brought up how important it was to support one another, especially during hard times. Evelyn nodded, talking about unity and healing. But when Brandi spoke up, her words had weight. She said sometimes people pretend to offer support, when really, they're just maintaining appearances. She said it without naming names. But everyone knew who she meant. Evelyn's expression didn't change, but she shifted slightly in her chair. Her smile faltered for a second. Jennifer looked down at her lap. Jackie just stared at Brandi, waiting. And then, quietly but firmly, Brandi said, "I just don't do fake. I'm too grown to play those games." The silence that followed was deafening. It wasn't just the cast holding their breath. The crew, the assistants, even the charity organizers nearby, they all felt it. Something had cracked open. Something had started, and it wasn't going to be easy to put back together. Evelyn leaned forward slightly, her voice calm but cool as she replied, "I don't think anyone here is playing games. If there's something that needs to be said, let's say it." Brandi didn't blink. She wasn't here to dance around anything. She looked Evelyn straight in the eye and said, "You always want to control how things are said, when they're said, and who gets to say them. But the truth doesn't work like that. Not everyone's gonna play by your rules." Jennifer shifted uncomfortably, glancing around to see if cameras were zoomed in. They were. Jackie sat back, her lips pressed tightly together, watching the two women like a hawk. Like a hawk. The tension wasn't loud, it was sharp, like a wire pulled tight, ready to snap. Evelyn didn't flinch, but her eyes hardened. "I've always been honest," she said. Brandi laughed once, a short, dry sound. "You've been honest about what serves you, everything else, not so much." People around them were pretending not to listen, but the energy was too intense to ignore. A producer nearby whispered something into a mic, clearly signaling the rest of the crew to stay locked in. The conversation was unfolding in real time, unscripted and raw. Fans would eat this up. But for the women in it, this wasn't about screen time, this was personal. Brandi, now visibly tired of the back and forth, finally reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She didn't play the voice notes. She didn't read the texts. She just held it up and said, "I have all the receipts I need. You can spin things however you want, but the people who matter, they're already seeing through it." Jennifer looked over, surprised. She hadn't known Brandi had kept proof. Jackie tilted her head. Evelyn's jaw tightened just slightly. "So that's what this is?" Evelyn asked, her tone still even. "A smear campaign?" Brandi shook her head. "No, this is me finally refusing to stay silent while you keep manipulating everyone around you. This is me saying enough." And just like that, it was out there. The words had been spoken, not yelled, not screamed, just stated. Clear and clean. Evelyn sat back, crossing her arms. "If anyone's being manipulative, it's you. You pretend to be honest, but you're calculated. You bring things up in front of cameras, you hold on to messages and wait for the perfect moment. That's not real. That's revenge." Jackie let out a soft exhale, her eyes darting between the two of them. "We all got things we've been through. Hurt, betrayal, misunderstandings. But if we're really here trying to rebuild, this ain't the way." Brandi turned to her, frustration creeping into her voice. "Rebuild what, Jackie? Something that was never real in the first place." She looked back at Evelyn. "The sisterhood you preach about only exists when people do what you want." Jennifer finally spoke up, her voice soft but firm. "I think we've all had our moments where we weren't the best versions of ourselves. And maybe this is just one of those times where we all need to step back." But that didn't sit right with Brandi. Step back for what? So we can keep pretending everything's fine, so people can keep getting hurt. The air grew still. No one moved. And then, Evelyn said something no one expected. "I invited you to the event because I wanted us to move forward. Not to look perfect. To try, but I see now. You already made up your mind." Brandi stared at her. "Yeah, I did. Because you've been playing the same game for years. I just finally stopped pretending not to notice." And with that, Brandi stood up. She didn't storm off. She didn't make a scene. She simply picked up her bag and walked toward the door. Jennifer looked after her but stayed seated. Jackie muttered something under her breath that sounded like "damn." Evelyn remained still. Not chasing, not reacting. Outside, Brandi exhaled deeply. She wasn't angry. She wasn't emotional. She felt free. The weight of pretending, of holding things in it, was gone. And inside the community center, the silence left behind said everything that needed to be said. A few minutes passed before anyone spoke again. Jackie, always the voice of chaos and reason, broke the stillness. "Well, I guess that went left real fast." Jennifer gave a small nod. "She's not wrong though. I've felt it too. But you know Evelyn, she knows how to protect her space." Jackie looked at her, curious. "And what about you? Are you protecting yours? Or are you just waiting to see which way the wind blows?" Jennifer didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked toward the door Brandi had exited through and sighed. "I'm just trying to figure out who's real and who's performing. That's it." Evelyn remained seated, slowly twisting the ring on her finger. She wasn't new to this. She'd survived worse. But something about this felt different. More exposed. More permanent. The usual script wasn't working, and the usual allies weren't rushing to her side. Later that night, social media caught fire. Fans were dissecting every second of the footage that had leaked online. Slow-motion replays, zoomed-in reactions, side-by-side comparisons of past conflicts. Everyone had an opinion. Some praised Brandi for speaking her truth, while others accused her of holding grudges. Evelyn's fans defended her fiercely, claiming she was being ambushed. Jackie was labeled the wild card, and Jennifer the silent judge. Hashtags like hashtag Team Brandi, hashtag Evelyn exposed, and hashtag BBWLA breakdown started trending. Fan pages uploaded clips with dramatic captions. Influencers posted reaction videos. It was no longer just reality TV, it was a movement. And through it all, Brandi stayed silent. No tweets, no stories, no interviews, just quiet. Which to her fans said more than words ever could. Meanwhile, in private group chats and late-night phone calls, the other cast members began to weigh in. Some felt caught in the middle. Others were ready to pick sides. One source close to production claimed that multiple women had already reached out to producers, saying they wanted to confront what they now saw as a toxic dynamic that had been allowed to grow unchecked for too long. And as the dust settled from the charity event, one thing was clear. The fracture wasn't just between Brandi and Evelyn. It was in the foundation of the group itself. Something had shifted. The loyalty lines were blurring. The old rules didn't apply anymore, and everyone knew that from here on out, things would never be the same. As the days passed, the aftermath of the charity event rippled through the group like shockwaves. Brandi's calm but cutting departure had left a scar that no one could ignore. Production scrambled to rearrange schedules, desperate to capture the fallout in real time. Every woman in the circle was suddenly being pulled into interviews, side conversations, and last-minute meets. The energy had shifted, and everyone felt it. Whatever fake harmony they'd been clinging to was gone. What remained was raw, uncomfortable truth. Brandi, for her part, stayed quiet. She didn't post, she didn't leak, she didn't reach out. Insiders claimed she was focused on her piece, but others whispered that she was giving the group space to either come clean or expose themselves, without her lifting another finger. It was a power move and it worked. Within 48 hours, Jennifer and Jackie found themselves pulled into separate convos with other cast members who suddenly had a lot to say about Evelyn, one of the newer girls, who'd mostly stayed on the sidelines until now, reportedly, told Jackie that she'd seen similar behavior from Evelyn in past group outings, emotional distancing, silent triangulation, and sudden shade disguised as concern. Another woman, who had once been close with Evelyn off camera, privately messaged Jennifer and said, "It's always been her way or no way. Now you see it too." Meanwhile, Evelyn wasn't sitting quietly either. She reached out to several of the girls, inviting them to a small get-together at her place. It wasn't an official scene, just a casual night with wine and conversation. Or so it seemed. Some felt the invite was her way of regaining control, rebuilding her image, and reminding everyone who really ran the group. Jennifer showed up late. She came alone, with a soft hello and a guarded smile. Evelyn greeted her warmly, but there was something forced about it. The night started light. Music, laughter, stories from the past. But soon, the elephant in the room made its way to the center of the conversation. Evelyn, perched on the edge of her white leather couch, looked directly at Jennifer and said, "I just want to know what you think, really think." Jennifer, always poised, took a breath. "I think you're a strong woman, Evelyn. I think you know how to survive any room you walk into. But sometimes, that strength can feel like control. And control can feel like manipulation, especially when people feel like they can't be real with you without consequences." The room fell silent. Even the wine glasses seemed to pause. Evelyn didn't lash out. Instead, she smiled tightly. "So that's what this is now. Everyone thinks I'm controlling." Jennifer didn't answer. She didn't have to. Later that night, after most of the women had left, Jackie pulled Jennifer aside, outside on the patio. The two sat in silence for a few moments before Jackie finally said, "She's unraveling. Not like wild, but like her grip is slipping." Jennifer nodded slowly. "Yeah, because she built her place here on image. And now that image has cracks." Jackie looked over the backyard fence and said something that stuck. "Image don't matter when truth shows up." Meanwhile, production was working overtime. They wanted a full cast event, something big, something emotional, something that could bring everyone into the same space without feeling forced. A weekend retreat came up, something low-key but scenic. A villa outside the city, wine country vibes, luxury on the surface but chaos just beneath. The invite list included everyone, even Brandi. And to everyone's surprise, she agreed to come. The weekend started off quiet. Polite hellos, side eyes, little clusters of conversation. Brandi arrived with sunglasses on, headphones in, and a look that said she wasn't here to play. She stayed mostly to herself the first day, spending time near the garden, journaling, sipping tea. But everyone knew it was only a matter of time before things came to a head. That moment came after dinner on the second night. The group was gathered around a large fire pit, drinks in hand, the stars bright overhead. Jackie had just finished telling a wild story from the past when Evelyn turned to Brandi and said, "In front of everyone, I just want to understand where all this is coming from. I've tried to be there for you. And you act like I'm the enemy." Brandi looked at her for a long moment. "You're not the enemy. You're just not the friend you pretend to be." Some women gasped quietly. Others leaned in. Evelyn, trying to maintain her composure, asked, "And what does that mean?" Brandi didn't flinch. "It means you know how to perform empathy, but you don't know how to practice it. It means you check in when cameras are rolling, but you ghost people when they're actually hurting. It means you don't fight fair, and you don't heal anything. You just reset the stage." The words hit like thunder. Jennifer looked down. Jackie covered her mouth. Another castmate murmured, "Damn." Evelyn's face went still. "I have been nothing but good to you. I brought you back into this group. I gave you space to shine. And this is how you repay me." Brandi leaned forward, eyes steady. "You brought me back because it made you look good. And when I didn't fall in line, when I didn't play nice, you flipped. Not in front of the crew, but behind the scenes. The little comments. The passive shots. The alliances. I've watched you do it to everyone, and I finally decided you weren't gonna do it to me." Silence wrapped around the group like a blanket. No one moved. No one interrupted. Evelyn stood up, pacing slightly. "You sound paranoid. You sound bitter. You sound like someone who's mad that they're not in the center anymore." Brandi stood up too. "No, I sound like someone who's tired of pretending that pretty equals pure. That leadership equals kindness. That just because you've survived things, you get a free pass to walk over people." Tears welled up in someone's eyes. Not Brandi's, not Evelyn's. Someone watching someone who realized they had been hurt by the same pattern but never had the words. Jackie, for once, was quiet. Jennifer. She stood up slowly and walked between the two of them. "Enough," she said. "This doesn't need to go any further. It's out now. It's all out. No one's perfect. We've all played roles. We've all taken shots. But we're not gonna heal by tearing each other down on repeat." Brandi and Evelyn looked at each other, breathing hard, the flames of the fire pit dancing in their eyes. And then Brandi said, "I'm not here to be forgiven." And Evelyn replied, "And I'm not here to be exposed." And Jennifer said, "Maybe you're both just finally being seen." The rest of the night was quiet. No more shouting. No more accusations. Just a thick, lingering energy that clung to every corner of the villa. They weren't enemies, but they weren't friends. They were something else now. Something complicated. Something real. And whether or not they would ever come back from it, no one could say. The next morning, the villa was quiet in a way that felt heavy, like the calm after a long storm. The sun poured in through the sheer curtains, casting golden light over still glasses and half-eaten fruit trays. No one rushed to breakfast. No one filled the air with the usual forced laughs or chirpy good mornings. The energy had shifted completely. Whatever veil had covered their friendships before, it was gone now. Brandi sat alone by the pool, notebook in hand, headphones draped around her neck. Her expression was calm but unreadable. She hadn't spoken much since the fire pit. She didn't need to. She'd said what needed to be said. Not with anger, but with truth. And sometimes, truth doesn't echo, it settles. People feel it in their chest long after the words are spoken. Inside, Jackie and Jennifer made coffee in silence. Jackie finally broke it, whispering, "That girl hit a nerve last night." Jennifer nodded slowly. "She's not wrong. She just had the courage to say it out loud." Jackie stirred her mug and said, "Or maybe we're just all tired of pretending." Jennifer looked at her for a long moment. "Pretending what? That we're a sisterhood?" Jackie sighed, deep and slow. "That we're anything but broken women trying to look whole in front of cameras." Meanwhile, Evelyn hadn't come out of her room. She'd stayed locked in all morning, her phone off, her blinds closed. Some assumed she was regrouping. Others thought she was embarrassed. But one thing was clear, she was rattled. This wasn't a simple tiff she could gloss over with a teary confessional and a few throwback pictures. The accusations weren't vague. They were direct, they were shared by others, and they had receipts behind them. Later that afternoon, production called a group check-in. Just a light wellness circle, they said. Nothing too heavy. But everyone knew it was a setup. The cast gathered, in the lounge, seated in a loose semicircle. A therapist was brought in for optics. Soft music played in the background, but despite the spa-like setting, the tension was still thick. Jennifer was the first to speak. She admitted she'd been feeling emotionally pulled in all directions. That she loved everyone in the group in different ways but had begun questioning how safe those relationships really were. Jackie followed, sharing that she'd always tried to be the glue. The one who kept people together, but lately, she felt like she was patching cracks in something already falling apart. When it was Brandi's turn, she spoke without flinching. "I've been labeled a lot of things. Bitter, angry, negative. But what I've never been is fake. And maybe that's what bothers people the most. Because I don't know how to smile through disrespect. I don't know how to stay quiet when people twist the truth. She looked across the room, not directly at Evelyn, but close. I didn't come back here to be messy. I came back to be honest, and if that shakes things up, then maybe they needed to be shaken. Finally, all eyes turned to Evelyn. She looked tired, but not defeated. Her voice was lower than usual when she said, "I've made mistakes. I've held on to pain in ways that weren't fair to others. But I'm not a villain. I've survived a lot, and sometimes that makes me protect myself more than I should." She looked down at her hands. "But if people feel like I've manipulated them, I need to sit with that, not defend it. Just sit with it." It was the first time she hadn't pushed back, hadn't countered with a defense or a redirect. It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest thing to accountability she'd ever offered on camera. And for a brief moment, the room felt still. Like maybe, just maybe, there was space for something new to grow. But healing doesn't come overnight, and not everyone was ready to move on. After the session, cameras followed Brandi as she walked through the vineyard behind the villa, talking quietly with Jennifer. "I want peace," she said. "But not fake peace. I want to be able to show up without second-guessing every word that comes out my mouth." Jennifer nodded. "Same. It's like we've been trained to perform our emotions, but now, we're actually feeling them, and it's uncomfortable." They sat on a bench under a tree, the wind rustling the leaves above. Jennifer hesitated, then added, "I think the audience sees it now. The shift. People used to pick sides. Now they're asking deeper questions." Brandi smiled slightly. "Truth has a funny way of doing that. It makes people uncomfortable, but it also wakes them up." Meanwhile, inside the villa, Evelyn was on the phone with her daughter. The cameras caught just enough to hear her say, "I don't know if I can keep doing this. Not like this." The image, the pressure, the way every moment feels like it's being judged. Her daughter's voice was soft, but firm. "Maybe it's time you stop worrying about the image and just focus on being real." That night, over a quiet dinner, the group shared a meal without a script. No performances, no staged drama. Just silence, glances, and the occasional half-laugh. It wasn't a resolution, but it was a reset. In the final scene of the retreat, as bags were being packed and cars lined up outside, Jackie pulled Brandi aside. "You changed the game," she said. "And not just for the group, for the show." Brandi looked at her, unsure whether it was a compliment or a warning. Jackie smirked. "Now they gotta decide who they are when the cameras stop." Brandi nodded. "Or if they ever knew to begin with. As the cast returned to their regular lives, the ripple effects of that weekend continued to grow. Fans on social media created timelines piecing together seasons of clips to point out moments where Evelyn's behavior now looked suspect in hindsight. Old arguments were rewatched with fresh eyes. Brandi's calm delivery and sharp memory were praised across platforms. #BrandRule started trending alongside clips of her confrontation. But just as many came to Evelyn's defense, arguing that she had always been the emotional backbone of the group, misunderstood but never malicious. The debate was fierce. But for the first time in years, the narrative wasn't controlled by one voice. It was being questioned, dissected, and rewritten by everyone. Production, recognizing the fire they'd captured, began teasing the footage early. Trailers featured Brandi's powerful quotes, Evelyn's silence, and Jennifer's quiet reckoning. The editors didn't need to exaggerate. The truth was dramatic enough, and while no one knew exactly how the next episodes would play out, one thing was undeniable: what happened at the fire pit, in the villa, and behind those quiet glances, had changed the story for good. This wasn't just TV anymore. It was a reckoning. And no one was safe from the mirror Brandi had held up to them all. So now that the dust has settled, at least for now, we're left with a fractured group, a shaken foundation, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. Has Brandi truly exposed a long-running pattern of control, or has she simply reached her limit with someone who's played this game longer than anyone? Is Evelyn misunderstood? Or is this the moment the spotlight finally turned on her in a way she couldn't script? What about Jennifer and Jackie? Will they stay neutral, or will they choose a side? And let's not forget the rest of the cast who've been watching quietly, some for seasons, waiting for someone to say what many have been thinking. Was this charity event the breaking point, or just the beginning of a bigger shift within the group? One thing's for sure, fans are watching closely, and the energy has never been this raw. So now we want to hear from you. Do you think Brandi was right to call Evelyn out? Has Evelyn been playing puppet master all along? Or is she just another cast member trying to survive the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Are you Team Brandi, Team Evelyn, or are you still undecided? And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next, because if this season's taught us anything, it's that nobody's safe and nothing stays buried forever.